Howdy, folks. It is still Friday, August 16th, and I am still Rob, that developer dad. I'm going to turn on my face tracky thingy. Let's see if it'll go. Are you going to work? It's going to start following me? No, not yet. It seems to be feeling silly. Can't even tell if it's on. Doesn't matter. It's in a better spot than it was before anyway. Let me make sure. Center stage is turned on. Good. Okay, my camera is set up the way I want it to be anyway. So cool. All right, so this morning I got the Blazor app actually behaving itself the way I want it to be. And I'll flip it over to the code screen share thingy. Here we are. And it's loading up right now. And I'm sorry I'm late. I have been dealing with some minor tech issues, but that's okay. Nothing that should terribly impact the stream. So we've got our list of NPCs here. And let's go ahead and create a new one. We'll just create whatever. I don't want somebody who's retired. Here we go. Yeah, that works. So it's going to go. It's doing the thing. Run. Bring the Blazor app back up in front. And what was happening that, or what wasn't happening, that should have been happening, is when I flip back to the list view from here after I've saved this Elven merchant that's being generated, or about to be generated, I had it successfully going out and fetching all of the NPCs from the database, but it wasn't updating itself to show that new NPC on the screen. So Eldrin Silverleaf is being generated as we speak. You can see this animating in the background as the LM server streams out one token at a time and does all of its stuff. And one could say I could stream that output out here, but because it's streaming out as JSON, it's incomplete data, and it won't render until we get the whole shebang. So here's Eldrin Silverleaf, and when I click on back to list, we should get Eldrin Silverleaf at the bottom of that list. And there he is, or there they are. And they're just 5'3", they weigh 138 pounds, just a silly little guy, but an esteemed Elven merchant. They've ventured far from home to trade rare artifacts, drawing upon the Outlander spirit instilled in them since childhood. Oh, that's fantastic. Okay, so we can go back to the list, we see the stuff, and having to scroll up and down the whole bloody screen and everything like that every time something changes when we come back is a massive, massive drag. So what I want to talk about today, or this afternoon rather, is fixing these layouts so that when we're in a mobile view, which I anticipate is probably going to be, we're probably going to see 50-50 traffic between people using this on their phones versus on their desktops. The desktop view isn't quite as bad. It's still kind of scrolly. And I'd like to see that significantly better. If we come into the view, like all of our action buttons are down here and they're taking up the whole bloody thing, and that's not fantastic. And I'm not in love with the way these layouts are working. So what I want to do is I want to talk about how we want to be laying these things out. And let's start with the first view, like our view transitions and stuff. And I'm pretty sure I've gone through those, or I've listed out the transitions previously. I think I have a PowerPoint. So we've got our generation process where we fully randomize all that stuff. And then we go using the choices. Optionally, we use the AI to get more stuff. Redisplay the NPC preview with AI generated stuff, and persist. A difference that we have here versus in the application is I'm not adding a save button when it's just the random attributes. And that's a gap that'll need to be filled. And I don't really see where we go from place to place here. So why don't I push my keyboard out the way and bring my iPad up front and flip to a different application. And I'll change my view. Here's my iPad and me. And so let's go with oh, stop that. That rotates. How about trash? There we go. I want to add text. How do I add text? Fill, stroke, font. Heck with it. I'm gonna use a different app because I don't know how to use that one yet. So here's all this stuff, and I'm just gonna zoom in here, and we're gonna have list view goes to either a create view or a details view, which then comes to a Gen AI details, which goes here, which can then come back that way. And so within all of these views, these are all within the NPC feature. So we're going to have common navigation. I think no matter where we are in the feature, we're going to want to be able to get back to our list view. And so that means at the feature level, we have not only, well, we have to look at this in the context of the application first. So here's our application. So there's the app. And then features get loaded into this area. I'm just going to call that the feature container. And then within the feature view, the feature container manifests as a Blazor page. We've got a task pane, but in our feature container, we need a place to put the buttons that allow us to navigate around the feature. And I feel those should, I feel like I want to put these maybe at the top, or do I want to put them at the bottom? Because I'm thinking about using this as I use my phone. And I typically use my phone left-handed. I might be the odd one out. I do smoke cigarettes, and when I'm using my phone most often, I've either got a coffee or a beer or a cigarette in my right hand, and my phone is in my left, and I'm using my left thumb to scroll around. Now, if the task-specific buttons are too close to the feature scope buttons, I run the risk of hitting the wrong button and doing a full task transition that I didn't want to do. And that tells me that, oh, that's really itty bitty. You better zoom in. The feature, and I'm going to scratch that out. Get lost. Feature scope buttons. There we go. And I'm just going to pop over here and move this guy over here. I want to bigify that font so that we can see it legibly, even at this size. So we're focusing here on the feature scope buttons. And always visible. Oh, dang blast it. Come on, move down here. Let's bigify that to 24 points. And that says Galloway is visible. That's not what I wanted to say at all. And I'm going to really bigify that. Now I think the feature scope buttons actually need to go down a level. Oh, stop it. Undo. And give me this. Give me a line drawer thing. There we go. I'm going to take my feature scope buttons, move them down here. And I'm going to put feature title up here. Always visible. scrolls away. Now, within the feature container, we've also got our task panel. Undo that. Can I send that away? There we go. So we've got our task panel. Cool. And task container. I think we're going to have an optional task header. Send that away. Grab my text, bump this up here. Task, scoped. Undo. Task, scoped buttons. There we go. Select that and bigify it so that we can see it, and scoot you over here. And of course, if we've got other interactive things that are within the task container area itself, we can have those in there as needed. But I'm thinking like save, cancel, reset, stuff like that. Now, always visible, I'm going to pull you. What are you doing, Rob? Stop that. Undo. Undo that. You, my friend. Jinkies. There we go. Always visible. And I think our feature scope buttons. I'm going to go back to drawing mode. Here we go. And I'm going to go with a blue. I want to use that. I want to use that. So I'm going to go with a blue arrow here. And our feature scope buttons are always going to be visible. Oh, stop it, you clown. I am such a clown with this. Stop it. Anyhow, you get the idea. We've got our app, which has a feature container. Our feature container has a title with some feature scoped buttons at the top. The title, if we have to scroll down, the title can go away, but I want those buttons to always be visible. That's going to be tricky. And then we're not going to have a footer for our feature area. And the main region of that feature area is going to contain our task container. The task header will always be visible because we can put different relevant data. I don't think it's always necessarily going to hold just the name of the task that's being performed. For instance, if we're viewing the details of an NPC, it might be details for the name or whatever. We'll see. I haven't gotten that far. But if there are buttons for that particular task, they're going to get loaded into the task footer, which will always be visible even if we scroll up and down. So let's start sketching this concept out in, I think we'll just start with a plain vanilla HTML page. So let's flip over to my main screen focus. Here we go. And I can send PowerPoint away. And here's Blazor. We can close that. We don't need you anymore. And I'm going to minimize this because I want to open the Finder. And we're going to create a new folder. And that new folder is going to be called Element Positioning Tests. And inside here, I'm going to open a new tab. No, I'm not. I'm going to open VS Code at this folder location. And let's make it big, but not super big. We can actually close the search thing. I need to show, nope. Oh goodness, what am I doing? VS Code is weird, man. Element, and let's add index.html. I'm just gonna go doc type, HTML, do that, do all the stuff. Content ID edge, all of this nonsense. Let's let this use up all the vertical space on that monitor and save it. And let's see if I can actually get it to load in Safari. Open the side, select for compare, open timeline. I hope I don't have to fire up a web server or anything like that. Run a debug, web app, Chrome, web app, Edge. Heck with it, we'll use Edge. I ain't choosy. Okay, here's hello world. I'm going to take you and I'm going to scoot you all the frickin' way over to the right edge of my screen. Where's my resize cursor? Where the heck are you? Copy, close. Let's open a new Safari window. Paste and go. It worked. It's a miracle. Here's my resize cursor. And it's not going to let me shrink it any more than it has. That's okay. We'll just do this. Now, I don't suspect that it's going to let me do much in the way of say adding a new folder, CSS, add new file, styles.css. Here we go. And I'm going to go body, and that's it. And we're going to save here. Well, let's go background, color, aqua. Save. Now we need to link it in here. Meta. Link rel equals style sheet type equals text.css and media screen href equals dot slash css slash styles. Save it. Refresh it. Okay, good. So we can do this. We don't have hot reload or anything like that, but that's okay. I'm not that worried about it. So there's body, and that blue is really, really jarring. So let's do this. Hashtag RGB. So I want to go with DCDC AA. Save it. Refresh it. That's better. Okay. So inside index.html, I want to define some divs. And class equals app host. And dot app host. I'm not going to add any specific information yet. What are you complaining about? Do not use empty rule sets. Whatever. Eat it. We'll get to you. We're going to add stuff eventually. Body class equals app host. And the reason I did this as a class and not assigning it directly to the element is because I don't necessarily want to apply that to the whole body of the website. There might be other stuff I want to do out there. And of course, header and H1 header text, and then UL class equals nav dash list. And of course we have to come over here and say .nav dash list. We'll add the slash UL, LI, menu item 1, and we'll add menu item 2. Save that. Class equals nav item. I'm just going to grab that whole thing. I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to paste it. S, there we go. And then we've got main App body. Well, main isn't going to have necessarily any paragraphs, but that's going to be the host of our features. And then, of course, footer, if there is one. For this, we're not going to have a footer, but I'll add it. Add footer text. I'm just going to highlight P, comment that out, save. Features go here. Save it, and let's refresh. Okay. So within our app host, we want certain things to happen. And as a matter of fact, let's bring our footer back just for a second. We'll untoggle the block comment, save, refresh. All right. So over in styles, I'm going to designate main as class equals, no, app content? Yeah, app dash content. I like it. No. Nope, that's not how I'm going to do it. I am going to do it like this. Class equals feature host. Now, we're going to use pseudo selectors. So within app host is going to be display flex direction is column. Now, let me actually do this. Flex direction column. Let's comment that guy out. Save everything and refresh. And all kinds of crazy stuff happens. Because the default behavior of a Flexbox, we're going to use Flexbox. I said I didn't want to dig into Flexbox the other day, but I think it's pertinent for what we're doing here. And I did some research over the past couple of days about how the best way of getting things positioned in a browser app is. And everything I've found that has been released in the past at least 5 years says Flexbox is the way to go. So let's figure it out together. It's that development dead thing to do. Let's untoggle flex direction column. Save it and refresh it, and we're back to normal. So that's great. Nav, by default, in this state, I do want it to be vertical. And .nav item, I'm going to do that. Okay, save it. So I think before I start working on nav stuff, I want to do .app host header. So if a header element is of the class app host, or sorry, if app host is applied to a header, we're going to say background color, and let's go with chocolate. I like chocolate. Chocolate's yummy. Save it, refresh it. Now, I like using vastly contrasting colors whenever I'm doing layout stuff. App host main background color. Can I go reset? HSL relative, royal blue, no. I'm just gonna copy this, paste it, bam, save it. And then finally app host footer, app host footer, background color. Let's go like some crazy dark brown, not current color. Light gray, not transparent, not unset. Screw it, black, color, white. Save it and refresh. Boop. Okay. Now we still see that the body background is showing because we're not quite at the right areas. So I'm going to say height is 100 VH. Let's say DVH. And width is 100 DVW. Save and refresh. Padding 0. Margin 0. Refresh. There we go. That's more like it. Now, I saw a tutorial about doing heights and stuff with Flexbox earlier today, and I can't remember all the details. Of course I can't. So let's highlight Safari and we'll open a new window. And we're going to make this bigger than this, but not all the way big. And Flexbox positioning fixed footer. Scrolling main. And for simplicity's sake, let's go fixed header. Flexbox with fixed header and footer and scrollable content. Let's take a look at good old Stack Overflow. So HTML body margin 0, height 100%, can also use viewport units, which I did. Container, display flex, flex directions column, height 100%, needs to take the parent's height, alternative, body display flex, whatever. And what did I do in the code? I said height 100 DVH. So these guys need to move up in here. Save. Pull this over to the other monitor for a minute and refresh. Okay, so that's the same thing. And I'm going to apply height 100% to this. And what that means here is that it's going to take up 100% of the height of the parent. And I'm going to go ahead and let it do width 100% as well. So for our container, for what I'm calling main, right here, I'm going to say flex 1. Takes the remaining height of the container. That's all I want to do there. And down here in footer, okay. And let's see what we get. I'm going to pull you back over here, and we'll refresh. And our footer still hasn't moved. Now this is what I saw in a YouTube tutorial earlier today, where I go margin, top, auto. Save, refresh, and that didn't do a darn thing for me. Background light blue, and that didn't help. Eliminating container here, making body as a flex container would make the screen reader experience better. All right, I did that with outermost, and so that didn't give us what we want. I'm not surprised, because CSS is never as straightforward as one would think it is. So container or app host is display flex, flex direction column, height 100%. Actually, because I'm applying it at the body level, I'm already using that. Alt flex, overflow, auto, save, refresh, but that's only if we've got feature area style equals height 100 px, width 90%, heck with it. I think that's all I need to do there. Save, refresh, feature area. Come back over here, and I've got a stray. What's it? Copy, paste, 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 paste. Save, refresh. And so, like, our footer is not at the is not locked to the bottom, and that's not what I want. Not what I want at all. So that Stack Overflow article did not give me what I needed. Solve this with position sticky on both header and footer. That's not what I want. Header fixed while scrolling. Stay at the bottom of the page in Flexbox. Doesn't scroll in HTML. Fixed header and photoer. Class page header. Let's see the CSS. What's he using here? Page height 100%. Good. Body overflow is hidden. Do I have to set that? That's goofy. Flex direction column. Page header. Flex 00 auto. Flex 00 auto. Flex 11 auto. Let's try those. So much of CSS is FAFO. So flex 1. Let's add flex 0, just for laughs. And the footer, we'll add flex 0. Save it. And what does that do for us? Nothing. Not a darn thing. Let's refresh again. And I bet if I come over here and comment out a bunch of these paragraphs, save, reload page, yeah, our footer comes right back to the top. So that doesn't help me at all. So flex 0 didn't do what I needed it to. Flex 0, 0, auto. Let's try that. Flex 1, 1, auto. And flex 0, 0, auto. Save it, refresh. And you can now see why I'm not trying to do this within the actual application. Feature area, save it, refresh it. Yeah, that's not helping me at all. Not a bit. Main. See if it'll let me inspect this element here. So the feature area main. It's a flex item. Our banner is a flex item. There's our flex box. Banner. Main. And footer. I'm using the wrong thing. Duh. I don't have a header with the outpost class attached to it. Control or with the Command T. I have a HTML element with a class applied to it. How do I apply styles to the direct children of the classed element? Depending on its child? No. I want to do the backwards way. Direct children of elements matched by the first. So let's take a look at this child combinator thing. So ul.mythings -li. What happens if I put in that little chevron? So app host header, main, footer. Having been hiding behind the API for all these years, I have not really kept up with all the stuff. It still didn't do anything for us. So let's come back to this, comment this out, and I'll get rid of this. I'll comment this out, save all of that. So we've got everything saved. Let's refresh. And the positioning is still goofy. Is it going to be dumb in Edge too? Copy. It might just be a Safari thing. I hope not. I'd be very disappointed in Apple if Safari was goofy too. And it doesn't seem to be the case. Edge is just as screwy. It's not giving me what I want. So child combinator didn't seem to do anything for me. Selectors level 4, browser compatibility, Edge, Safari. Okay, so it's done child combinators forever. Alrighty. I'm using Flexbox. I want an I'm using Flexbox. I need it to take up the entire screen. A child will be within the Flexbox. The footer child must always be at the bottom of the window. It's done by giving the body element min height 100 BH, display flex and flex direction column. That's great. That doesn't help me. Body main footer, okay. Display flex, margin top, auto. So let's try this one more time. We'll pull this over here. Yeah, margin top, auto. That's what I've got. What if I do this in a stupid way? Footer. Not as an HTML element, it's the selector. Margin, top, auto. Save it, refresh it. Still didn't do anything for me. That's so bizarre. That's so very, very silly. All right, we are going to simplify. And once again, this is why I don't mess around inside my main application when I'm trying new things with UI stuff. I'm going to rip out all of these classes, except for the nav list, stuff like that. Okay, good. Save. Reload. We're back to normal. And I'm going to take those styles, X, paste, delete. Header, background color, main, come out here, get rid of every reference to app host footer. We'll rip all of this stuff out. Save it, refresh it. And that worked. Ta-da! So I screwed something up with my I doofed something up with my CSS class stuff. So what are the implications for What if I did this? Div class equals app host. And I move these guys back in there. I want to cut, paste, come back over here. There we go. I'm going to take this stuff out of here. We're just going to straight up delete it. Save it and refresh. Please don't break. Oh, it broke. App host header. Refresh. Oops, I didn't want to save my HTML page. Cancel. Refresh. Aha! And that works. So, what if I want to get this stuff vertical when we're at one breakpoint, and I want it to go horizontal when we're at another breakpoint? Well, we're going to have to reintroduce our nav and nav list and nav item. So, .nav, not /nav, but .nav. And it's going to be a display flex .nav list is list style none. Save it, refresh it. Very good. Display flex, flex direction is a column. Padding, let's go 10 pixels. No, let's go 0.75 EM. Save, refresh. Oof. Not what I wanted. That needs to move X into the header. That's a little bit tidier. Margin 0. Save it, refresh it. Okay. Index header. And I think instead of having the nav be our display flex, I'm going to promote that all the way up to header. Control X. V. Save. Now, come back over to Safari, and I'm going to do the Google on use CSS media queries to define breakpoints. Essentially, media query breakpoints are pixel values that a developer designer can define in CSS. Blah, 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 blah. How to use browser stack. Pow. And CSS breakpoints based on device. Media only screen and max width 600. Media only screen and mid width 600. So I'm just going to have two breakpoints, or one breakpoint, okay? I am going to, for now, say we're going to override this behavior when we're at wider than whatever this is. And I do want to measure this. So what's the dimensions on this? What's the dimensions on our body here? 574 pixels by 364. Okay. So I don't remember how to do CSS comments. Apple T, CSS comments. Well, yes, I know. Just give me the damn syntax. Okay. I just want a single line comment. The following styles are only for larger screens. And let's pop into here, based on content, CSS techniques for that stuff, mid width, max width, breakpoints, etc. Take a look over here. Things seem to be okay. And let me think. Oh, that's a blip in my ears. My phone's only got about 20% battery remaining. So that's okay. This is the last thing I'm going to be doing, which is going to set me up for more of this on Monday. So media query breakpoints, common media query breakpoints, blah, 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 blah. So let's say at media, only screen min width, let's say 600 px. Bootstrap uses 576, 768, 992, 40 EM, 60 EM. Yeah, I'm just going to go with 600. And what I want to do is I'm going to grab app host header, this selector, Control C, Control V, come out to the end, and flex direction row on that bad boy, just for the header. And I'm going to refresh. And we're going to refresh, and it didn't do anything for me. What's this complaining about? I seem to have a problem here. At rule or selector expected. Max width. CSS responsive width is important to access the device on smaller screens. No, I'm going small screen first. Media query breakpoints to be used, blah, blah, blah. That doesn't really help me. CSS media query syntax. I think I've set things up incorrectly in there. So let's go to MDM web docs. Use from following, syntax, media types, any hover, blah, 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 blah. Can I have an example? At media print, at media only screen is what I've got. Hover, hover. Orientation portrait. Max width is stuff. Max width less than or equal to M's and color. Complex media queries, combining multiple types of features. I don't care about all of that stuff. Blah, 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 blah. Testing media queries. Positioning, printing, blah, blah, blah. Come on. Media query list. No. CSS override styles within specific media query boundaries. Here we go. media screen, and I forgot the and. I bet that's the whole problem. Yeah, it still didn't do anything for me. Oh, it did. All right. Post header. Main is flex1, overflow auto, footer, nav. We are also going to assign this to display, flex, flex direction, column, nav list, and I believe I've got nav item. Is that what I called them? Yeah. Dot nav item. And I'm going to say margin right. Let's go 1M. No, we're going to go margin top is 1M. Dot nav item first child. No, wait. Nav item first. Is that a valid one? Margin top 0. Save it. Refresh it. All right. So what we're going to do is we've got this rendering nice and vertical here. Well, that's an awful lot of space. Not in love with it, but I'll live. But let's pull these guys. Copy. Drop them in here. I can get rid of the display flex in here because that's redundant, and I can turn this into row. List style will still be none, and instead of margin top, I'm going to say margin left. And I'm going to say margin left. I'm going to save it, and I'm going to reload the page. And what happens if we drag this to the left? Our menu items are now moving horizontally instead of vertically. So hooray! We've gotten all these crazy special effects with plain vanilla HTML and CSS. And that makes me pretty darn happy. And this is a really good start to figuring out how we're going to be styling the actual layout pages in our main Blazor application. I've got batteries running out of charge, and I've already gone for, I don't know how long, almost an hour and a half this afternoon. But I think the head scratching and the what the heck is going on and what am I doing wrong, and starting off overcomplicated and then backing off to something simpler and then introducing the more elegant solutions as I go. Oh, there is something that I didn't do after I got the header to behave itself. What if I do this? We better check this just to prove what I'm trying to do. So I'm going to save it and do this, and it does not appear to have blown anything up. So let's grab this, and I'm going to pull it down here. I'm going to drag it to the middle of the screen, and I'm going to start just woo all the crazy stuff. And yeah, everything is staying right where I want it to be. Fantastic. That makes me grin. Okay. Good deal. I've learned quite a lot this afternoon. And with that, I'm going to call it a week. Have yourselves a great weekend. Be safe, have fun, try to do something other than work. Take care, everybody.